It's Merger Wednesday. The countdown continues. 7 years until the convergence of biology and machine. Neural interfaces are no longer theory. They're the scaffolding of a new consciousness. But what does that mean for identity? For free will, for the soul? This is where we build the frameworks for ethical, philosophical, and spiritual growth for the next phase of human evolution. We're not just upgrading hardware. We're rewriting what it means to be human. Each week, we explore the biotech breakthroughs, decode the cognitive shifts, and prepare the mind for the merge. This isn't about fear, it's about readiness. Because the future isn't waiting. It's already wiring in. This is about preparing human consciousness for the most significant leap in our species' history. If you think this is just about chips and brains, you're not ready. But we'll get you there, one Wednesday at a time. So sit back and relax as we take you on a journey on Merger Wednesday.
Welcome to the Final Boss Podcast, Merger Wednesdays. I'm your host, the one and only, the Final Boss. And as soon as I am able to get this camera straight, we can, hey, there you are. Hey, guys. Hey, guys. Welcome. Never a dull moment to Merger Wednesdays. Listen, man, we are moving along. Time is moving along. The show is moving along. The podcast is moving along. We are moving along. Listen, welcome to Merger Wednesdays. Hey, we got some great people in the building right now, man. I'm gonna give it a few shout outs to Gafsy, to Hamanda, right? To Chikandi's in the building. Hello, ma'am. How are you? Welcome to Merger Wednesdays. Listen, I owe everybody an apology last night, man. Couldn't make it to Tech Tuesdays last night. I was enjoying the hospitality at an undisclosed location where the food was gross, but the conversations and company were amazing, right? So to that undisclosed location, thank you for all of the insight that you provided for me in the future. Thank you so much, right? I see all of you. Don't you go nowhere. All 14 of you stay right there, man. This is Merger Wednesdays. This is the Final Boss Podcast. Welcome. If you're here, man, if you're here and this is your first time, welcome. Listen, to each and every last single one of you, no matter where you are, watching from Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, Kick, YouTube, Instagram, or Spotify, thank you for joining us. And as always, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. The beautiful, the unconquerable, always supportive Andrea is in the building. Let's give a shout out to all the guests, man. All the guests who are here early, man. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Look, man, I got a great show for you tonight. You know, tonight's the doctoral show, right? So bear with me, right? Bear with me. To each and every last single one of you, man, I gave you guys an apology. Thank you for the support. And everybody was worried. Oh man, where are you? Listen, I was enjoying some hospitality and great conversations, but the food was terrible. And look, I don't want to go there again, right? Don't want to go there again, man. But you know, hey man, things happen. Sometimes things are out of your control, right? Things are out of your control. But tonight we're in full control because tonight is Merger, man. Tonight is Merger, right? And whoa, what was that? That was crazy. So, episode number 12 of Merger, episode number 204 of the Final Boss Podcast, right? So, Before we get started, man, I already gave everybody the greeting of the day. Let's go ahead and remove these banners. I gave shout outs, man. What did I miss? Did I miss anything? Did I miss anything? No, 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 no. No, 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 nope, 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 and more nope, right? So listen, something got reborn this night, right? Something got reborn tonight, right? And it wasn't a person, right? It wasn't a brand, as my computer is falling apart. And it's not a comeback story, but what it is a machine, right? A machine made of biology, right? And for 11 weeks, man, for 11 weeks, we've been laying down the pieces and the frameworks. We've week by week, we talked about smart blood, we talked about nanobots, we talked about smart dust, right? Each one a technology that spent decades trapped in a silo, in a lab, in a journal, in a defense program, in a pharmaceutical pipeline, waiting for the moment, the right architecture to arrive. And then it says, you know what? We don't want to live alone anymore, right? And I'm gonna tell you, that is the night of tonight. And that moment is right now. That moment, my friends, is tonight, right? The rebirth of these three technologies isn't three separate stories. It's one story. And the name of that story is the Internet of Bio-Nano Things, right? That's right. The IOBNT, the unified architecture that treats smart blood, nanobots, and smart dust not as separate technologies, but as three layers of one network system. Your body connected to the digital world at the molecular level, right? So, listen, if I sniffle a little bit, my sinuses are bothering me. My allergies are acting up crazy. So, look, and that's my disclaimer, right? Week one, you already had the computational work for that, right? Your brain is a network. Just the separation between human and AI is philosophical, not biological. And then week two, we talked about smart blood, the delivery layer, the lipid nanoparticles already circulating inside human bodies. CRISPR therapies already rewriting definitive codes and definitive genes, right? And week three, nanobots, machines smaller than your cells, sensors, motors, and can be administered through drug payloads, and they have the capabilities of targeting systems, right? And then week four, right? We talked about every component. That was every component, and we went deep. We talked about MEMS sensors. We talked about smart dust networks, FDA-approved gene therapies, mRNA to programmable nanoparticles, Neuralinks, first human, the data, the failure, the fix, the recovery. And tonight, man, we're going to talk about the convergence. We are going to talk about the convergence, right? Listen, I am the final boss, and I am also a doctoral candidate, and I'm a doctoral candidate. And guess what? In AI, right? In AI. And tonight, the pieces become the bigger picture. It becomes not only the bigger picture, it becomes the picture, right? It becomes the picture, right? Like we do each and every last single Wednesday at 9 p.m. live. We are the Merge, and this is Merger Wednesdays, right? So here's the brass tacks, man. This is the brass tacks. Three technologies, decades of isolation, one architecture changes everything. The rebirth of smart blood, nanobots, and smart dust is not three separate events. It's one moment. The moment convergence replaces silos and the human body becomes the most sophisticated network ever built. That moment is not coming. It is already underway, and this community is the first to see the whole picture, right? And that's all layman terms for. Well, not the layman term. I'm sorry. That's the brass tacks of the evening, man. That's the brass tacks. So, to my Final Boss community, to my Final Boss nation, to my Final Boss family, right? You guys are already here. Oh man, my cousin. Hey, cuzzo, thank you for the early birthday wishes. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that, man. Shout out to my cousin Michelle. She's in the building. Listen, 5 nights a week, live at 9 p.m., right? With your host, me, right? The Final Boss. right? As you know, I'm service disabled veteran, right? You know this. You know I've had service in the for the Department of Defense. You know I served in the military, right? You know I've served in the three theaters, and you also know that I was in the Pentagon on 9/11, right? I'm in my last semester of my MBA, and I start my doctoral studies in AI foundations and ethical considerations in July, right? But more important than all of those credentials, listen, I'm a dad, right? I'm a dad and I have a beautiful daughter, right? So every episode is a deliberate act. It's a deliberate act of legitimate legacy building, right? Including the merger round. So why? Auntie, I am on my show. Bye. I'm good. Okay. All right. Bye-bye. Hilarious. Hilarious, man. Hilarious, right? Listen, live show, man. Anything can happen. Anything can happen in a live show, right? So, look, this is season 4 of the rebirth, right? People hear rebirth and they think, oh, man, what is this? A comeback or something? No, it's not a comeback, right? Think about it as like a second chance, right? Think of like a recovery arc. But at the same time, right? Give her a call and tell her not to interrupt the show no more, cuzzo, right? Think about it of something different, man. Something different, because that's what those things I just named, that's not what it is, right? The rebirth is what happens after a complete reckoning, right? Season 3 was the reckoning. And last season, we audited everything. We stood in the rubble of what was real and called it what it was. That was season 3, friends. That was the reckoning, right? The rebirth is what comes after the audit. Yes, Maureen, I am doing this. I'm a one-man band, one-man show, except for my graphics team. But yes, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us, right? The rebirth, as I was saying. What was I saying? Oh, audit, right? Not a return to what was, a construction of what has never existed before, built on truth instead of assumption, built on reckoning instead of comfort, right? That's what Art 2 of Merger Wednesdays has been. We didn't revisit old ideas about nanotechnology. We tore down every silo and forced the question, what do these technologies become when they operate as one, right? That's the convergence. And tonight is the answer, the rebirth of 3 siloed sciences into one unified biological architecture. And to my smarts, listen, to my smarts who track the research, tonight is the payoff. To my fighter bosses who build the information, tonight is the blueprint. To my motivators who need to understand that the stakes tonight is the picture, right? I said the picture earlier, right? To my warriors who know information is ammunition, tonight is your briefing. All 4 of you locked in, let's build, right? Let's build. Now, no, we talked about smart blood in the beginning of the third of last season, right? We talked about smart blood in the beginning of last season, right? Because smart blood was the first layer we covered, right? It was the first, right? And in the context of the rebirth, smart blood represents something specific, the rebirth of the bloodstream itself, right? Itself. And for all human history, the circulatory system has been understood as a life support network. It carries oxygen, right? It carries nutrients, right? It removes waste, right? It transports immune cells to sites of infection, right? That understanding is complete and correct. And it is no longer sufficient, right? It is no longer sufficient. The moment lipid nanoparticles delivered mRNA into billions of human bodies and triggered a targeted immune response without touching a single healthy cell, the bloodstream was reborn, right? As something it had never officially been before, a technology delivered infrastructure, an engineered channel, if you will, right? A network of programmable cargo, right? CRISPR, we talked about CRISPR. Stay there. Don't you go nowhere. No bathroom break, no hallway pass. Class is in session. Take some notes, right? CRISPR therapies, we also talked about that in season 3, right? Early on in MERGER, right? CRISPR therapies like Casgevy were the first FDA-approved CRISPR treatment for sickle cell disease, right? That's been confirmed, right? Go do your research. Go check it out, right? It was a molecular payload, targeted delivery, biological reprogramming at the genetic level, right? The bloodstream didn't just carry the therapy, was the channel the therapy required, right? And then one of my favorites, man, smart blood, right? Smart blood is layer 1 because the rebirth of the circulatory system from life support channel to technology delivery network is the prerequisite for everything that follows, right? Without rebirth, the other 2 layers have no highway to operate on, right? Think of it like traffic. Think of it like a traffic jam, man, right? Think about it like a traffic jam, right? And to my smarts, the precedent that matters here is not scientific, it's regulatory, and it's also social. Billions of people accepted molecular cargo into their circulatory systems through mRNA vaccines. The proof of concept is not in the lab, it's the population. The highway exists. The question is what drives on it next, right? And now, as you guys know, listen, I'm in a great mood tonight, man. I just am in a great mood tonight, man. Listen, I had some great hospitality last night, man. The food was terrible. I didn't eat the food, but the hospitality and the conversations were amazing, right? Think about it like this. This is my latest block. Think about it like this, right? Think about how cities work, right? We just talked about traffic and traffic jams, right? Before there were cars, roads, and cars and roads, before all of that, right? We had horses, we had carriages, we had foot traffic. The road infrastructure was the same. What changed was the vehicle. The bloodstream is the same story. It has always been the road, right? What's changing is the vehicle. Lipid nanoparticles and CRISPR therapies are the first new vehicles on the ancient road, right? The road got reborn, not because it changed, but because what drives on it changed. That's smart's blood, right? That's layer 1. The highway that the rest of the merge requires. Right? Now, you know, I love talking about nanotechnology. We're always talking about nanotechnology on MERGER because this is what the show is about, right? Nanotech, right? Because nanotechnology has one of the longest gaps in history between theoretical conception and practical reality, right? Richard Feynman outlined the theoretical basis for nanoscale machines in 1959. Yeah, it's the tech is not new. 1959, right? 1959. Robert Friedis published detailed blueprints for medical nanobots in the 1990s. The tech is older than some of your rap songs, right? It's older than some of your rap songs. We're talking about 4 decades in the field have already existed, primarily in academic papers, DARPA proposals, and science fiction. But that era is over, right? That era is over. We're in a rebirth. Nanobots have been reborn from theory into clinical pipeline. Nanobots, often smaller than a single blood cell, are now engineered to circulate through the human bloodstream, equipped with advanced sensors capable of identifying specific molecular markers, right? They detect cancer biomarkers. They navigate damaged tissue, right? They deliver pharmaceutical payloads with cellular level precision, right? Think about it. Using biosensors, nanorobots can identify metal ions, toxins, and cells in bodily fluids, right? Providing real-time diagnosis from inside the body rather than from an external lab test, right? The global nanorobots in healthcare market was valued at over, get this, 6 B's, 6 billion, right? That was in 2024, $6 billion. And is projected to reach nearly $20 billion by the year of 2032. That is growing at a compound annual growth rate of 14.5%, right? You can't beat those odds. You can't beat those odds. Listen, it's going to happen, right? I'm just being the vehicle and the voice to help us get there and transition, right? 60 plus years from Finneman's lecture to a $14 billion commercial trajectory. That's not a slow technology. That's a technology waiting for the manufacturing capability, right? The material science, the biological delivery infrastructure, right? It all needs to catch up. It needs to catch up with the vision, right? All three caught at the same time, right? The rebirth of nanobots is the moment of theoretical framework that meets a biological highway that can actually carry it, right? Smart blood provided a highway. Nanobots are the vehicles, and the vehicles are now real enough to attract $14 billion in projected market value over the next 8 years, right? Now, listen, kind of bosses ask when, right? When $6 billion markets become $20 billion markets in 8 years, right? You don't wait for the press release. You understand the architecture right now. While the window to position around sipping on a little Java juice, right? Sipping on a little bit of Java juice. I should make that a song. Listen, layman's block. The idea of a teeny machine swimming through your blood to find and destroy cancer cell has been in science fiction for 60 years. That's number one, right? What changed wasn't the idea. What changed was the ability to actually build a machine. That's number two, right? Better materials, better fabrication, better methods, better understanding of how to keep a synthetic device biocompatible in the human body long enough to do its job. That's number three, right? The rebirth of nanobots is the most, listen, the rebirth, right? The rebirth of nanobots is the moment a science fiction premise became a funded clinical research program. It's not science fiction, people. It's science now. I keep saying it. It's science now. I might have to coin that phrase, add it to my frameworks, right? I think I need to do that, right? Science now. Because, and get this, it didn't happen overnight, right? We just said it was 4 decades in the making, right? It happened because every supporting technology had to mature first. They matured. The nanobot era has started, right? Listen, that was a layman's block. If you don't know, if you didn't know, now you know, right? And for those who are just now joining us, to my smarts, to my final bosses, to my warriors, you guys know this information, right? We've been talking about it for a while. But if you didn't, Smart Dust started as a defense program at UC Berkeley by DARPA in the 1990s, right? The same time NWA was hitting the streets, right? The goal was autonomous distributed sensors small enough to be undetectable and networked enough to transmit data collectively from denied environments, right? Military intelligence applications, right? Battlefield sensing, that was the original design, right? The rebirth of Smart Dust is the transformation from defense surveillance to personal health infrastructure, right? Personal health infrastructure. The same core technology. Microscale sensors that capture environmental and physiological data and transmit it wirelessly now lives in your wearable patch, your continuous glucose monitor, your biosensor tattoo, right? Wearable electrochemical biosensors currently enable real-time continuous measurement of various biomarkers directly on the body in forms including microneedles, wearable patches, tattoos, contact lenses, and mouth guards. And the most advanced platforms now incorporate multi-sensory integration and closed-loop control systems, right? Closed-loop control. That phrase right there, right? That phrase is the rebirth signal for layer 3. Layer 3, right? A sensor that only monitors is a surveillance device. A sensor embedded in a closed loop control system is a biological management tool because it detects, it transmits, right? The system responds and automatically, right? It does it automatically, right? Without waiting for a human to read a report and make a decision. Blood glucose spikes. The sensor detects it and triggers an insulin response before symptoms develop. Inflammatory biomarkers appear. An alert fires to a physician dashboard before you even feel the pain. Cortisol levels elevate. The system logs the stress event and adjusts a downstream protocol. Right? It's not science fiction, people. This is science now. Right? Smart Dust was reborn the moment it moved from external surveillance into internal management. From watching the battlefield to managing the biology. And to my warriors, the lineage of this technology matters, right? It was built for surveillance. Its rebirth is personal sovereignty. These two applications run in opposite directions on the same technology platform. What direction it goes depends entirely on who controls the system, right? Keep that tension in mind as we move forward and as we build the unified architecture, right? And to my smarts, to my final boss, to my warriors, to my motivators, to the final boss communication, final boss communication, final boss community, final boss nation, final boss family. Here's the lamest block, right? Your Fitbit is the customer grade first generation version of Smart Dust, right? It captures physiological data from the surface of your body. It transmits that data to an app. The app gives you a report. That's layer 3 at its most basic, right? The rebirth of that concept is what happens when the sensors get smaller, get more sensitive, move from the surface of your body to inside it, and connect not just to an app on your phone, but to a system that responds to the data automatically, right? Automatically. Not, here's your heart rate. Instead, your inflammatory markers just spike. The system has already adjusted your your medication protocol, right? And your doctor has been notified, right? Isn't that amazing? That's the rebirth of Smart Dust, from fitness gadget to biological management infrastructure, right? That's the rebirth. 3 technologies, 3 rebirths: Smart Blood reborn as engineered delivery network, Nanobots reborn, right? Nanobots reborn from theory into clinical pipeline. Smart Dust reborn from the defense surveillance into biological management infrastructure, right? 3 separate rebirths, 1 convergence, right? The framework that unifies them has a name, right? The Internet of Bio-Nano Things, right, is the innovative field of research at the intersection of nanotechnology, biotech, and information and communication technologies. It aims to enable the seamless integration of biological and nanoscale systems into the internet to develop advanced biological applications, environmental monitoring systems, sensors, and energy efficient networks, right? The IOBNT, the rebirth of three siloed sciences into one unified biological network architecture, right? IOBNT envisions a heterogeneous collaborative network of natural and artificial nanobiological functional devices, including guess what, man? Engineered bacteria, right? Human cells and nano biosensors that are seamlessly integrated to the internet infrastructure. The IOBNT refers to biosensors that collect and process data, nanoscale labs on a chip that run medical tests inside the body, bacteria designed biological nanomachines that detect pathogens, right? And nanorobots that swim through the bloodstream to perform targeted drug delivery and treatment, right? And here's the architecture picture, right? Here's the architecture picture. Inside the body, right? Layer 1 delivers the agents. Layer 2 performs the task and generates biological data, right? Layer 3 captures physiological readings and transmits them. The data doesn't stay inside the body. It travels to an external gateway, a device worn on the body, a medical monitor, a direct wireless uplink that goes to a gateway that enters the internet, right? The IOBNT integrates radio, ultrasonic, and molecular communication schemes in the context of 6G plus wireless, right? Connecting nano devices inside the body to external gateways and ultimately to the broader internet, right? 3 layers, 1 network connected to 6G or 6G plus, right? That is the architecture of the reborn human body, right? And rebirth. The rebirth here is not incremental. It's not. Adding a new feature to an existing system is an upgrade, right? This is a category change. A human being whose biology is continuously networked is fundamentally different class of organism than a human being whose biology operates in isolation from the digital world, right? And to my smarts, right? My smarts. Listen, the IOBNT is not a startup, right? Not a product launch, not a press release. It is a research paradigm with active programs at IEEE, EPFL, and MIT, right? And major European institutions backed by government funding on all 4 continents. Well, not all 4, but on 4 continents, right? Track it by name, man. Go look it up. Go check the information out, right? And to and here's my language block, right? Here's my language block, right? The Internet of Things, the IoT, gave every object around you a network connection, right? Your thermostat, your refrigerator, your car, each one became a node on the internet. A device that sends and receives data continuously. The Internet of Bio-Nano Things does the same thing, but it's for the human body, right? Not to devices around you, but to you. Yes, you right there. Yes, you who's watching, who's dozing off. Am I boring you? Am I boring? I'm doing the layman's block. Wake up. Pay attention, right? To you. Your cells become the nodes. Your bloodstream becomes the network cable. Your body generates data continuously and transmit it to systems that can act on it. The rebirth of the IoT concept is this, right? Migration from the objects around a human being to the human being itself. And that was the layman's block, man. Right? Isn't a layman's block wonderful, man? So necessary. So necessary. I'm able to summarize in plain speak, right? Now, let's pivot for a second, right? Let's pivot for a second. Because every network needs a language, right? A protocol, a shared standard for how nodes on the network exchange information, right? The internet uses TCP/IP. For all my geeks out there, y'all know what that is. Transport Control Protocol, Internet Protocol. That's evil, wicked genius right there. Let me tell you, right? Your phone uses cellular protocols. Your Bluetooth devices use short-range radio frequency protocols. The IOBNT uses none of these. And the reason it can't is the same reason, right? The rebirth of this field requires an entirely new communication paradigm, right? Radio frequency RF doesn't work at nanoscale inside biological systems, right? The frequencies carrying your Wi-Fi signal aren't built for a medium made of water, protein, and living cells. Standard electromagnetic communication methods are not feasible for size-constrained and energy-constrained devices operating inside of a body, right? So the research community did something special, right? They did something remarkable. Right? Something remarkable. They asked, what communication protocol already works perfectly inside the human body, right? What language does the body already speak, right? Pay attention. Wake up. Yeah, wake up. You. I see you dozing off. Stop dozing off. Hey, get back over here. You, come back. I saw you just left. Get back over here. The answer is molecules. The answer is molecules. For those who didn't know, the answer is molecules, right? Because molecular communications have emerged as the most promising technique to enable IOBNT because they're already utilized by natural biological systems in an energy efficient and robust manner, right? Your body has been running molecular communication for billions of years. Every hormone, every signal, every neurotransmitter, every immune response, right? That's a molecular network, right? Researchers are building synthetic systems that transmit engineered signals through the same physical medium, right? To realize an IOBNT, both radio frequency and molecular communication schemes are used, right? Including molecular communication, right? Molecular communication systems. That's crazy. Gateway nodes and RF subsystems to enable end-to-end communication between nano devices with miniaturized biosensors located in the body and external control and monitoring units in the context of 6G plus networks, right? The rebirth this represents is fundamental. And for the first time in the history of networking, the communication protocol is not engineered from scratch. It's borrowed from biology. The body teaches the network how to talk. The network learns the body's native language and speaks it back, right? Molecular inside, radio at the boundary, 6G outside. The handshake is 3 layers deep before a signal bit of data reaches a hospital network, right? And to my smarts, whoever writes the finalized molecular communication standard writes the operating system for the biological network, right? That's not a metaphor. That's how protocol standardization has worked in every network technology domain in history. The standard is the power, right? Like IEEE. Listen. Hold on. I need some Java juice. Listen. Layman's block, right? Your cells don't send text, right? They don't send text messages. They release chemical signals. One cell releases a molecule. A neighboring cell has a receptor that recognizes that molecule and responds. That's how your immune system knows when to attack. That's how your pancreas knows when to release insulin. Your molecular communication technology learns to write new messages in the same chemical language instead of the release of insulin, right? Instead of it. The synthetic signal says send status report to external gateway. Same physical medium gateway, right? Same physical medium. New engineered message that's going to be layered on top, right? The rebirth of network communication is the moment it stopped being purely electronic and started being biological, right? That's the latest. Now, let's wrap. Let's not wrap. Let's let's run the full system. Let's run the full system in motion, right? Not layer by layer, but all three together, right? In sequence as a unified operation, right? This is what the rebirth of medicine looks like when IOBNT architecture is operational, right? Here it is. Think about it like this, man. You have a patient who has early stage of C, right? No symptoms, biomarkers present in the bloodstream at concentrations too low for a standard blood test to flag. But under the current system, this patient doesn't know they're sick. They won't know until symptoms developed. And by then, the disease has progressed. Under IOBNT architecture, layer 1 activates. Smart blood delivers nanobiosensors via lipid nanoparticles. Molecular cargo enters the circulatory system. Nanoparticles navigate to the region of elevated biomarker concentration. The highway delivers the vehicles, right? And then there's layer 2. Layer 2 executes. Nanorobots use biosensors to identify the specific molecular markers associated with the C variant and bodily fluids. They log the detection. They begin targeted drug delivery to the affected cells. No healthy tissue exposure. No systemic chemotherapy flooding the entire body, right? Precision execution at the cellular level. And then layer 3 closes the loop. Sensors embedded in a wearable patch on the skin, surface capture to the downstream of physiological changes triggered by the nanobot activity, right? We're talking about temperature variation, inflammatory markers, right? Metabolite shifts, right? Research demonstrates that IOBNT integration enhances early disease detection, personalization of treatment, and improves responsiveness of healthcare systems. Those are all three layers that transmit their data through molecular communication channels on a gateway device, right? The gateway translates molecular signals into a digital signal. The digital signal exists, or I should say, not exists. It exits, right? It exits the body through 6G. It reaches a medical AI platform that correlates all three data systems and data streams, right? It confirms the diagnosis. It adjusts the nanobot treatment, right? And then it notifies your physician. The patient never felt a symptom. The disease never had a chance. The system caught it, diagnosed it, treated it, and reported it all before the human was aware anything was happening, right? That is the rebirth of medicine, people. From reactive to continuous, from symptomatic to preventive, from patient management to biological sovereignty, right? And my motivators knows that scenario isn't a utopian dream. It's the clinical direction of the IOBNT research pipeline that is moving toward verified published literature from legitimate institutions. The rebirth of medicine is being built in real labs with real funding right now as we speak. Now, here's my latest block, right? Your car, right? Let's use your car as an example, right? Your car has warning lights, right? Some of you guys' cars have the whole Christmas tree up, right? The whole Christmas tree lit up on the dashboard, right? Your car, when something goes wrong, one of those lights come on. You drive it to a mechanic. The mechanic diagnoses the problem. The current medicine, a symptom appear. You go to a doctor. The doctor diagnoses and treats. Well, right? Well, with IOBNT architecture, right? think of IOBNT as the car. The car has sensors throughout the entire engine. It monitors every component continuously. It catches problems before warning lights appear, automatically adjusts performance to compensate, and reports the full system status to a mechanic who is a doctor in real time, whether you're paying attention or not. The rebirth of medicine is the transition from warning lights to continuous monitoring, from reactive repair to preventive management. That's the rebirth of medicine, right? And the rebirth is real. And the rebirth is incomplete. Both statements are true at the same time. They're both true simultaneously. And the precision matters in how we discuss it on this show, right? Because here is what exists right now in 2026, right? Not science fiction, science now, right? Lipid nanoparticles deliver molecular cargo in human bodies. That exists, right? CRISPR-based therapies approved by the FDA for human use. That exists. It was used for sickle cell disease, right? Nanobiosensors and academic and clinical research pipelines detect cancer biomarkers in blood and verify sensitivities, right? Not commercial yet, in the research stage, but published and has reproducible results, right? And listen, recent developments in micro and nanotechnology have relevantly improved the sensitivity, the miniaturization, and biocompatibility of intravascular biosensor devices, enabling their application in precision medicine with continuous real-time monitoring of essential physiological parameters that directly affect or are aligned with the circulatory system, right? Researchers at EPFL have developed a protocol that enables a molecular network with multiple transmitters to communicate wirelessly within the blood. A first step toward the full IOBNT architecture. The EPFL result is the rebirth signal of the entire networking layer. Not a theoretical model, a working proof of concept, right? A molecular communication network with multiple transmitters operating inside a simulated blood environment, right? The language of the reborn body has a network prototype, right? Research demonstrates that IOBNT integration enhances early disease detection, personalization of treatment, and improves the responsiveness of healthcare systems, findings that offer strategic insights for future research and medical device development, right? The individual components are proven. The networking protocol has a working proof of concept. The integration architecture has a published framework with active funded research programs, right? 3 out of 4 requirements for commercial convergence are satisfied. Our smarts. The missing piece is standardization, and the standardization is an engineering and governance problem, not a science problem, right? Engineering and governance problems close faster than science problems. The rebirth of IOBNT from research to commercial reality is closer than people think, right? And here's my language. Here's the artist progress report, right? You guys let me know in the chat if I get an A or B for this, right? Because the C is failing. Yeah, you know what? I'm in a master's. This master's program is kicking my butt, man. I'm in the last semester, man. But let me tell you, you get a C, you fail. That's crazy work. You get a C. That's as someone I know will always say, man, that's crazy, nasty, dirty work right there, right? Listen. Here's the honest progress report. And drop an A to B in the chat, man. Let me know what you guys think of this, right? The delivery truck that exist are FDA approved. The autonomous agents exist in research and are demonstrating real results in labs. The sensor layer exists in consumer products and in far more advanced research forms. The molecular communication protocol has a working proof of concept. What doesn't exist yet is the unified standard that makes all four of these pieces function together as one commercial system, right? That's the gap. And it's a real gap, right? It's a real gap. It's also a gap that is actively being worked on by funded research teams on 4 different continents. The rebirth is in progress. It's not finished, but it has started, right? The rebirth just doesn't happen all at once, right? That's not how technology transitions work, and that's not what the research says. Full autonomous nanobot swarms navigating the human body on command? No, that's not commercially real. That's sci-fi. Research prototypes demonstrate limited autonomous navigation in laboratory fluid environments, right? Clinical deployment at the level of autonomy in human beings does not exist yet, right? But listen, the complete IOBNT architecture connecting all 3 layers as a single commercial system, not real, right? The components are proven separately. The unified system is a research goal with active programs, but no commercial development, right? Standardized protocols allowing devices from different manufacturers to complete and communicate inside a human body. Not real, right? And this is the most consequential gap in the entire field. There's an urgent need for unified systems, protocols, and data standards, as well as best practices for data set sharing and benchmarking before IOBNT can scale reliably across real-world developments. Right? The rebirth framing here is critical. You need to understand that. Every major technology transition has a standardization moment. Before the standardization moment, the technology exists in fragments. After it, the technology scales rapidly. The internet had its standardization moment. The smartphone had its standardization moment. The IoT, which is Internet of Things, had its standardization moment. The IOBNT has not had its standardization moment, but it's on its way. And that means we are in the most important window in the life cycle of this technology, right? The window before the standard is written, because the values, the governance structures, and the sovereignty protections that get embedded in the standard will determine what the reborn biological network actually looks like for humans whose bodies become its nodes, right? And my warriors, to my warriors, this is the real battleground. The standard is the real battleground, right? Whoever convenes the standards, right, or the standard body, whoever has a seat at the table, whatever values they carry into the room, that is where the architecture of the reborn body gets decided. Now, here's my layman's block, right? How many of you remember VHSs or Betamax, right? How many of you remember those? Raise your hand. I'm telling my age. Put the hand emoji in the chat right now if you remember VHSs, VCRs, and Betamax. Put your hands in the chat right now, right? Because get this. Speaking of which, VHS beat Betamax not because it was better technology, but because it won the format war, right? USB became universal not because it was the best connector ever engineered, but because enough manufacturers agreed on it. That was the standard. The standard is the power, right? And right now, the IOBNT doesn't have its USB moment. When it does, the whole system snaps together fast. The rebirth that matters most, the transition from research fragmentation to commercial convergence, happens at the standardization moment. The question for this community is this, right? The question for this community is this. Who in the room, when the standard gets written, who's in that room? And to those people, or I should say, do those people understand what's actually at stake, right? What's actually at stake? Now, listen to this. Every infrastructure, every major infrastructure, right? That transition in human history has a moment where a resource that was taken for granted gets reborn as something engineered, managed, and networked. Water was once a natural resource. It became managed infrastructure, pipes, treatment facilities, distribution networks, quality monitoring systems, right? Land was once territory. It became mapped infrastructure, property records, zoning, utility corridors, cellular tower grids, right? The human body is the next infrastructure transition, not managed by an external government or corporation, but managed by the convergence of three biological technology layers that the individual carries inside their own biology. The rebirth, right, of biology as infrastructure is not a metaphor for tonight's episode. It is the precise description of what the IOBNT architecture represents at the core of IOBNT, right? Because at the core are biocompatible nanodevices that can function in living organisms to monitor or modify specific biological processes in real time, communicating with each other, right? With the internet to collect, process, and transmit, right? Which opens up a new realm of possibilities for health monitoring, disease control, and environmental protection, right? You monitor or you modify. Both directions, the reborn biological infrastructure, the reborn biological infrastructure, right? Hold on. I need to take a quick, give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back. This is the commercial break. Sorry about that. Thank you so much. Short commercial break. If you haven't gotten Go Time, please go get Go Time. All aboard the Fired Up train where all books are sold. We're still running a special on the paperback for $9.99. You could get it on Amazon right now for $9.99 on a beneficial offer. It goes back to regular price this weekend at $16.99. So if you haven't gotten Go Time, All Aboard the Fired Up train and paperback, you can now for $9.99. And that is our commercial. Back where we was, right? I think we were talking about water. Yeah, water was a natural resource. We talked about land as a territory, right? The human body is next, right? The rebirth of biology infrastructure is not a metaphor, man. It is not a metaphor. You monitor or you modify. The bio-directional capabilities is very important, right? Architecturally, right? And the detail in that, and in this entire series on merger, right, is to understand this. A system that monitors your biology and reports to a network is a health tool. A system that monitors your biology and receives commands from a network and executes those commands inside your body is something with no historical precedent, right? It is a biology, it's a biology governed by network authority. But who holds the network authority is the question. We're going to be discussing that in Arc 5 of this series, and we're going to address it directly, right? But final bosses and motivators, you need to hold on that question, right? Hold on to that question, right? Because in every conversation about this technology, hold on to that, right? But not just what it can do and who controls it, but what it does, right? And what it does. Now, every infrastructure gets attacked, man, gets attacked. Roads get damaged, power grids get hacked, water systems get contaminated. Network biological infrastructure will face the same reality. Every time we covered an individual layer in this series, I raised the security question. And tonight is no different. The layers converge. The attack surface doesn't just add, it multiplies, right? A single nanoparticle in your bloodstream carrying a drug is not a cybersecurity concern, right? A network system of nanobiosensors transmitting biological data through a molecular communication protocol to a 6G gateway device on your wrist, feeding a cloud-based medical AI with autonomous authority to trigger drug delivery responses inside your body. That, my friends, is one of the most complex attack surfaces ever engineered in the history of technology, right? Security threats identified in IOBNT networks include spoofing, tampering, jamming, eavesdropping, and side channel attacks at both molecular and communication layers. If you don't know what spoofing, tampering, jamming, and eavesdropping and side channel attacks are, or mitigation strategies, go check that out, man. Go do your own research. Go check it out, right? Yes, Chikandi, that's what I'm explaining right now. We're talking about it. Yes. The rebirth of cybersecurity of this field requires a complete category shift, right? Digital sovereignty principles were written for devices, files, networks, accounts. None of them were written for a person whose bloodstream is a network endpoint. A reborn body requires reborn security frameworks, and those frameworks do not yet exist at the scale the technology is approaching, right? Smarts and warriors, cybersecurity of biological infrastructure is the discipline that doesn't exist yet. At that level, it needs to, right? That gap is a career. That gap is a research agenda. That gap is the frontier my doctoral work points directly toward, right? Now, beyond security is sovereignty. Two different questions. Right? We're almost done. I know we're over. Give me another. I probably need another 10 minutes, right? Security asks, is the data protected from unauthorized access? Right? Sovereignty asks, who authorized the access that exists? And by whose authority was the authorization granted? In a 3-layer integrated IOBNT system, your body continuously generates biological data. your cancer risk, excuse me, your hormone profile, your neurological patterns, your inflammatory response, your sleep architecture, your stress markers, your cellular activity, all of it in real time, all of it is networked. But who owns the data, right? Who owns it? The company that manufactured the nano device, the hospital that prescribed the treatment, the AI platform that analyzed the output, the insurance company that uses it to adjust your premium, the government that mandates disclosure as a public health measure. Research highlights that IOBNT development raises vital concerns regarding data ownership, signal integrity, and liability of the interface between nano devices and external networks. The rebirth of sovereignty that the merge demands is a rebirth of the entire framework for what privacy means. Digital privacy was always about what you shared. Biological privacy is about what you are. Your emails reveal what you think. Your biomarkers reveal what your body is doing at the cellular level right now. Right? A TOS agreement, right? TOS, terms of service agreement, for nano devices embedded in your bloodstream is not the same document as the one you skimmed before downloading a fitness app, the one that you looked over before you got your cell phone, right? The one that you glanced over before signing up for your internet connectivity, right? The rebirth of legal and philosophical frameworks for personal sovereignty, the sovereignty architecture that I'm building right toward in my doctoral research, must happen in parallel with technology itself, right? Final bosses, sovereignty isn't a value you demonstrate after the fact. It's a standard you demand before you sign the consent form, before the architecture is built. That window is right now, right? Now, we've discussed this for over 11 weeks now, right? 3 rebirths, 1 architecture. Smart blood reborn from life support channel to engineered technology delivery network. Nanobots reborn from 60 years of theoretical papers into a funded clinical pipeline with a $14 billion market trajectory. Smart dust reborn from DARPA defense surveillance into personal biological management infrastructure. 3 rebirths converging into 1 framework. The Internet of Bio-Nano Things, the IOBNT. Smart blood is the highway. Nanobots are the vehicles. Smart dust is the traffic management system. Molecular communication is the language the system speaks inside the body. The gateway is the translator. 6G is the connection to the world outside. The research is real. The funding is real. The convergence is happening, not in a single commercial product yet, but in an infrastructure being built right now by researchers at IEEE, EPFL, MIT, 6 German institutions and labs on 4 continents, right? The challenge is no longer science. The challenge is standardization. The challenge is security. The challenge is sovereignty, right? But who sets the protocol? Who? Who owns the data? Who? Who has the authority to write commands to the system? Who? Who demands what the automated response does inside your body when the AI detects an anomaly, right? Who? The rebirth of the human body as a network biological system is the most consequential technology transition in human history in humankind. Not the most consequential technology, the most consequential transition. Because for the first time, the technology doesn't just change what humans can do, it changes what a human being is, right? And to my smarts, to my final bosses, to my motivation, to my warriors, you now understand that architecture better than 90% or 90, I should say 99% of the world's population. That is not an accident. That is the what this community was built for. This is where we are, all final bosses, right? That is what the rebirth is in season 4, rebirth. The rebirth, right? Woohoo! Wait till season 5. Oh boy, get excited, be alive. It's time to be alive in season 5, man. Let me tell you. We are currently 96 episodes to season 5. And I'm already working on season 5. Man. Season 5 is gonna be crazy, right? Arc 2 is now complete. Arc 2 is now complete. It is closed, right? The body has been reborn as a network infrastructure. Next week, we begin Arc 3, episode 13 of Merger, right? Your brain is already a computer. We move from the body to the mind, from biological network to neural interfaces, from the circulatory system to the central nervous system, from blood to thought. Arc 3 is where the rebirth gets personal in a way, right? Arc 2 could only gesture toward. The IOBNT connects your biology to the internet, right? Neural interfaces connect your cognition to the machine. The rebirth of the brain, from isolated biological processor to the network cognitive system, is the most intimate and the most consequential layer of the merge, right? When the biological network inside the body and the neural interface in the brain operate as part of the same architecture, that is the merge, not a metaphor, a technical specification. And Arc 3 builds the complete picture of how that specification is being constructed right now in human beings who volunteered to be first, right? Arc 3 runs 8 weeks. By the time we close it, you will understand what's being built, who's building it, where the access points are, what the vulnerabilities look like, and what the reborn definition of human sovereignty means in a world where the network doesn't just surround you, it runs through you, right? To my smarts, you want more information on it? Go check the transcripts, man. I might drop some references later on, right? Make sure you verify anything. Make sure you verify everything, right? Don't just trust me because I said it. Trust the research. To my final bosses, Arc 2 is done. You now carry the foundation built on it. And to my motivators, you showed up on a Wednesday night for a doctoral-level briefing on the network future of the human body. That is not average. Don't let anyone reduce you to being average. Don't let people reduce you to being small, right? And to my warriors, the battlefield has moved inside. Know your terrain before someone else's names it for you. Listen, I am the one and only, the final boss. This has been Merger Wednesdays, episode 12 and episode 204 of the final boss, season 4 of the rebirth. Arc 3 starts next week. Arc 3 starts next week. And you know what? I'm going to leave you with this. I'm going to leave you with this last final layman's block, right? This is it before we close. The body is reborn. That's Arc 2. 8 weeks, right? 3 layers, 1 architecture, right? The IOBNT, next arc, is the mind. Everything we built tonight is the foundation. What gets built on the foundation is the architecture of consciousness itself. You don't want to miss that. The layer where who you are as a thinking, deciding, sovereign human being meets the network. Show up next Wednesday. This is where it gets real. This has been the Final Boss Podcast, Merger Wednesdays. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for hanging in there. I said we was going to go over a few minutes, and we did. So I greatly appreciate you guys for hanging in there with. And listen, if this marinates within you, man, share it with 3 individuals, man. Don't gatekeep. And if it does marinate with you, let it marinate in your spine. And always remember, there's a heavy pain that comes with discipline, but the pain of regret is even heavier. I am here. We are here. And always, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Be balanced, be equal, and most importantly, be smart, people. Y'all have a good night. See you again for the Final Boss Podcast, episode number 205, tomorrow with special guest Thursday. Y'all have a great one. See you then.